Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Post. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined by Kobia Hamblin, and together we are going to be previewing the Visit Barbados Derby Race Day, which features the Grade 1 87th running of the Visit Barbados Derby. That's going to come in the middle of the card, but it's a really competitive 8-race card, Kobia.
It is indeed, and hello everyone, welcome back. We finally get to see how the Triple Crown series comes to a close. We also get to see the likes of Bulldoze and Deccan Prince returning to our feed, but more into that a little bit later. We're going to take a step and go straight into the first race. The new kids on the block, the 2-year-olds, the Kadooment Sprint, a lot of weights race. This is 5 furlongs for West Indian bred 2-year-old maidens. And Rashaun, it's a field of 4, but as much as it's only a field of 4, there's not much that we know about any of these horses.
Yeah, there are going to be no replays because these horses obviously have not run. We're both going to land on number 4, Miss Ayla, for Mr. RJ and A Racing, Richard Dean and Gerald Beckles. And that is why I ended up here, because the connections, they come with intent every year. They release 2-year-olds. 2 years ago, they released Nostradamus, who went on to win the Derby. Then you had last year Ultrasound and Venom, who one turned out to be a Guineas winner, and it's going to be a favorite in the Derby this year. So I have to just assume that this filly, who is a half sister to Jason the Argonaut, who got his career ended pretty devastatingly and drastically, I think this filly is well met in this spot.
Yeah, I do agree with everything you're saying. It's just about where I landed as well. At 116 pounds, a lone filly in the race, well, after Perseverance would have scratched. Dancing Leo, Ace, and Dashing Jimmy, all colts. All of them do have apprentices, so they do come down to pretty level weights. But I think Miss Ayla, especially with the connections, just stands out a little bit more for me. When I look at Bloodline and I see, for example, Ace Show Me the Money into Positive, or Dancing Leo, No Not Again into Shall We Dance, I do see, specifically Dancing Leo, I do see some ability in the Bloodline, but unfortunately Bloodline doesn't run, and for right now I think Miss Ayla is as far as I can see.
Yeah, number 2, just really quickly, Dancing Leo is a half to 5 winners like Criterion and Mary Stewart, Time to Pray. So some names that aren't necessarily going to jump off the page, but the family does win races. So if you're looking for an option and you don't want Miss Ayla, because again, these connections released 2 horses last year, Ultrasound and namely Venom, in the first 2-year-old race, and they were both unsuccessful on debut. So maybe you might want to take a stand against Miss Ayla, but she's the one that I think they're going to have to beat from what you can see on paper here in race number 1. Race number 2 is the Pride of Barbados allotted weights. It goes 1,100 meters, and this is now for the West Indian bred 3-year-old maidens. So it's Derby Day, and some of these still don't have a win, and we are going to land on the same one here in horse number 1, Electra.
Yeah, we've got Richard Dean and Gerald Beckles teaming up again. We have them as winners in race 1. We have them as winners in race 2. Now, when I look at this field and I look at a horse like Electra, honestly, if I'm being dead honest with you, it is now or never. You've got 2 first-time starters and then 2 horses with less than 2 starts under the belt. And then after that, it's Electra and Start Time. I don't want Start Time because Start Time has absolutely no form coming into this race. I mean, 8th, 26 lengths off, 7th, 21 lengths off, 6th, 7 3/4 lengths off, just to name a few. And Electra, as much as she doesn't have too much form either, at least she's been, for lack of a better term, there or thereabout more times than not. Her last 2 starts, she's been 3rd and 4th respectively, both with Kadeem Mohammed. Yes, there was a 7-pound claim. She does step up to 123 pounds, but coming from gate number 1, I think it's pretty hard to ignore this horse.
Yeah, I'm going to just jump right in on that point. I think she has the perfect draw on the inside, the cutback, and she's bred to win on Derby Day. She's by Ashton Martin out of Poetic License. Her connections were Derby dreaming with that pedigree. So Derby Day might just be the most poetic time to break her maiden. Also, one column that you never really pay attention to is the purses column. She's made over $13,000. All the others have made 0, a combined amount of 0. So this is a horse that knows what it is to win, to make some money, to earn some cash. And I think I don't necessarily want to be like, this is the day for Electra, because she's not run that amazingly, where if someone else were to beat her here, I'm not surprised, because I don't think top to bottom this is, the most stacked field. But it definitely feels like Electra has to win here to, save some sort of reputation. You have Start Time second, but I have her nowhere because this one has really never run a good race. I think in her starts, she's shown good speed, which is a positive in this field, where she'll be in front. But no good form whatsoever, does not finish out the races. So I'll take number 4, Oriana, on my second line. I think more meant here of the Rommel level 3 with Aaron Daniel, but he's right in public sector, so this might just be the one that level goes to. So seeing Daniel on a first time starter in a field like this, for level, I will take that one on my second line, but I'm not. There's no notes. I have no information on number 4, Oriana. And then number 3, Code Breaker, to hopefully get some odds in such a small field with Lester Edwards claiming £3. If you watch their races, first 2 starts, 1,570 meters, showed good speed and intent for about 5.5, 6 furlongs of those 2 races, and then ultimately faltered. Very small horse, so cutting back maybe 1,100 meters might be right where this one wants it. So I'm going to go 1-4-3 in race number 2.
That's totally fair. Your second line pick in Oriana, I do have as third, and I simply chose this horse because it's a preach to me. And I know these horses can sprint. These horses are fast, and in a sprint, that's all you need to be. But again, I don't have any information on this horse. Furthermore, I don't even know what this horse looks like. So my fingers are crossed just like anyone else's. But with the depth of the field, it's like, who else is there to pick? Now, Star Time fell on my second line simply because this is the next best thing, in my opinion, to Electra as it relates to experience, to say the least. As I said, this horse carries no form, but at some point,
you're not going to be alone on that. I think when people look to oppose Electra, the first horse they're going to find is Star Time. So we'll see if they're going to be right. But I think with you, it's Electra's day, and we'll see how that one plays out. Race number 3, it's the Pop Kite handicap. This one goes 1,100 meters for the 70s and lower. And I think this one, as always, goes through these imported, and we're both going to land on them. We're just going to go different directions. But number 9, Awesome Mike, is the first one you have to start talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty hard to look away from the importers, especially as you've said before, how these horses perform versus our Creoles. It's not a diss to our Creoles, don't get me wrong. But right. I think these horses that we've brought in recently are so good compared to what we've had before that it's hard to see them on a sheet and not play them. Now, I went with Awesome Mike. This is Gold Cup Day. He's been missing for quite some time. But Gold Cup Day with 3 furlongs to go. This horse is barely even in the frame. He is second last, at least about 12 to 15 lengths off of Soleil Levant, who eventually picks up the race, who just picks up the race, sorry. And at the top of the stretch, Awesome Mike is, I can see Ricky Walker has a ton of horse under him and has nowhere to go. He eventually gets the space and shoots right through it like a rocket, eventually beating Zeba for third. And Showtime was second, Soleil Levant ended up winning the race. But we both know how good these horses are. And if this horse at his second start, a 3-year-old chestnut colt by Awesome Slew out of Start to Cheer, if this horse can run like that on a second time effort against seasoned campaigners like that, I think there's absolutely nothing stopping this horse from winning this race.
No, that was very impressive. I have to agree. And obviously, when you look at his first start in November, where he had blinkers and showed so much speed, then coming back and just being completely out of the picture back in March and rallying so impressively to finish third, rather. I mean, I just talked him right into the winner's circle. I thought it was an impressive move. I'm going to go against him in this spot just simply because with that race on Gold Cup Day that you showed, he took 109 pounds. So now he's stepping back up to 124. You can look and see he took 128 in his debut, but so did a number of those other maidens. This is a seasoned field. So I think going back up to 124 pounds, you have to ask the question, would he have been able to make that closing move with almost 20 pounds more? So I'm going to take the wait and see, though I do respect him in this spot. I'm going to take number 8, Mille Mans, the other import in this spot. I note first that Ricky Walker is on board here and not Binary Code, who's seemingly married to, and I'm surprised you are not picking here. But I think this horse showed speed in her debut, and if she can show that speed here with 119 pounds, if she can clear Fantastic Justice, she can be very dangerous because I think maybe she's a stronger horse now at 3. Her second start, she didn't get to show that speed and then she disappeared. So maybe something went wrong in that race. Here she is battling in her first start with Dr. B, who was on a steamer at this point, and then beating one of the best 3-year-olds, if not the best 3-year-old in the country, Mystic Rain, who was as green as grass in his debut. So when she's good, she's
greener than the grass.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Mille Mans might get overlooked in this spot, and this is the one I'm going to take. And then we just think it's anybody underneath there, and we both land number 6, Espresso.
Espresso, who I think is the better of the Creoles. This race, namely, is a 70 and lower race. And if you look back in Espresso's past races, or at least look through the form of other horses, I think Espresso carries the best form coming in here. He now comes from winning a 3-year-old and older 50 and lower. He steps up to 55 and lower, and he wins again, beating Let It Be Me and Ollivander, beating Leah and Northern Lady. All horses who are accustomed to knocking around this 70 class. And it's hard to look anywhere else but Espresso. I think Espresso was on upward trajectory, similarly to Awesome Mike and Meal More. He's been missing for just a little bit. You haven't seen him since 2nd of May. And to close out my top 3, I went with Premise. Premise, another horse who's accustomed battling with a class like this. It's hard to ignore Fantastic Justice. This one is itching at my skin every time I look at the entry. But Premise, I chose over this simply because Premise has been fighting these horses and competitively fighting these horses for a long, long time.
Yeah, Premise was able to beat Fantastic Justice a couple starts ago, and I think obviously his form has gotten a little dirty since then. So I understand playing Premise. Don't have him in my top 4. I did go with Fantastic Justice at the 112 pounds with the claim of Thor. Again, the speed here off the layoff, I don't mind, but this is a step up in class for Fantastic Justice, but I do have a lot of respect for him. And honestly, I really like Espresso. I think this is one of the up-and-comers. As you said, she is on an upward trajectory, and she's doing really well. And when you look at the field that she ran with last time in that 55 and lower, you might think, Let It Be Me and Ollivander, these are not the same kinds of horses. But look at what she's doing to them and how emphatically she's winning those races and giving that weight away. Her last win was in 106 and 2. So I think Espresso is as good as any Creole sprinter we have. And not right now, but just as she's going to get to that point. So we'll see what that one is going to do as well. But I think this is a really competitive middle of the card race in the ring race number 3. And then we move on to race number 4. It's the St. Lawrence Gap Handicap. This one goes 1570, 7.8 furlongs for the 3-year-olds and older, rated 45 and below. And immediately you have to discuss number 7, Show Me the Milk. This race goes through her.
Absolutely. Not necessarily the lone speed in the race. I do expect Northern Lady to be up there with Show Me the Milk. But she is so possessive when it comes to the lead that I don't think this is a horse you can make uncomfortable in any form or fashion, whether it's hard or soft. Pictured here above, she's leading Amazing Jane, Octavia Sienna, and another horse I have in my first 4, War Party, who I'm going to throw this effort simply because of conditions. This horse has been missing for a little bit, came straight back into this race, and gave me a performance that left me wanting more. He's been missing from the 21st of March up to the 20th of June and came straight back on the, for lack of a better term, muck. It really wasn't that soft, but didn't give me the performance I was quite looking for.
Yeah, I'm going to take number 7, Show Me the Milk. I don't have War Party here. I actually disagree. I think this is a horse that likes it wet. So you can draw a line and you would get paid for sure if you are correct. But I really like Show Me the Milk here. I think, as you said, this is a horse that will be a part of the pace. Northern Lady sat behind Thunder Lady the last time and rated a 1. Show Me the Milk is not as fast as Thunder Lady, but maybe Northern Lady is just a little happier rating, but we'll see. But Show Me the Milk with Delano Lopez, what more can you say? She will go to the pace and will be tough to catch. I'll take number 13, Northern Lady, behind her because I think these are just the 2 best horses in the race, and they will get a good trip because they won't have to come from behind. Then number 6, North Point Bay, the 3-year-old maiden, who comes here as opposed to the maiden race. And I think this is one that's just improving with every start, regardless. And the waters aren't getting too deep. Cuts back to 1570. I think this one has some good foundation that even though it's not a horse who's won, that can come with a run late to hit the board here. And then number 12, Rush. I like the claim with Mohammed here. It was between him and I Am Sid, who I picked last time, and I ended up on Rush, who did beat I Am Sid. But I'm noticing that Beckles gets on board I Am Sid. So I was toying with those 2, but ultimately the weight leaned in Rush's favor. So 7, 13, 6, and 12.
So be it, but you're gonna have to really convince me on the North Bay Point choice. I don't quite you covered your idea.
No, this horse is his last 3 starts have run 2 fourths and a third and has been progressively getting better. Also, not as exposed as the others in this race. So it's not that this horse is a killer, but he's definitely getting better and trending upwards. So I really like him in this spot.
Fair enough. I can't agree with you with the choice of Rush. I have this one as my 3rd choice, but to round up my first 4, I went back with Northern Lady, who, as I would have mentioned, is going to be a part of the pace. I was surprised to see how well she ran on the soft going. I mean, to win by 2.5 lengths over 17 million US at 109 pounds, that's a slot lover.
Right.
But coming back here on what we would hope to be a good to firm track, um, I guess this horse has to convince me, I can give that same effort when outside is hard. But clearly, this is a horse, similarly to Let It Be Me, to play once outside is wet.
Yeah, so that is going to be interesting. This is a deep field. It's a full field. It's going to be a lot of options that you can choose from. I think it's Show Me the Milk, and then you probably try to play underneath, or you get paid if you get her beat. But we'll see how race number 4
Yeah.
goes.
Signing up for BTC Bets is very easy. Go to barbadosturfclub.org. Scroll down to start betting. Click sign up for a free account and fill out the form. Check your email for the verification code and enter it. Create a personal password and PIN, and you're all set to start betting.
So we move on to race number 5. It's what I guess can be considered our supporting feature. It's the Bridgetown Heritage Condition Race. This one's for 3-year-olds and older, going 1,570 meters. It's drawn the top of Barbados's horse racing class. We got the rematch of Bulldoze and Public Sector.
Yeah, Rashaun, I wait a minute. We have the exact same first 4.
No, I don't know how you could go anywhere else. I really can't see, different orders, and especially I can't see different horses. And maybe different orders are possible, but the 4 here have to be the 4.
Yeah, they have to be. We both fell on Bulldoze as a win. I think Bulldoze is doing his best to solidify himself as the best horse in Barbados, going 5.5 and 7.8. We're yet to see him go 9 and beat Public Sector, but more on that later. Bulldoze has just had 2 wins with Delano Lopez, setting the second fastest 7.8 ever at the Garrison.
Yeah,
He then went on to sprint. Go on.
Yeah, this was an impressive performance, as you said. The second fastest 7.8 race we've ever seen run. And Public Sector wasn't that far off. And why I have it 2-4 here is there was a 10-pound difference between Bulldoze and Public Sector on this day, but I just don't see anything that makes Bulldoze vulnerable enough that he can't beat Public Sector at even weights. If this were even weights and maybe the trip went up to 9 furlongs, then I might think, Public Sector. But at a mile, who's in here because he's already disposed of Zazie in this race that we're watching, who he reopposes. Declan Prince probably won't be a part of the pace. Warbeat showed speed in the Coolmore, so maybe he's a little bit of a rabbit for Public Sector. All these options, I still don't think soften Bulldoze up enough at a mile where Public Sector is going to turn the table. So I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to go Bulldoze, Public Sector, hard as that to here.
Yeah, I do agree. When I look at Bulldoze and I look at let's go on to Public Sector. When I look at Public Sector and the race, he would have won Boxing Day, which was 7.8. If you look at the fractions in that race compared to Bulldoze's second fastest 7.8, they're completely different. Bulldoze did 24 into 49 and 108 and 1, and he was pretty easy as it was. But then you look at Boxing Day, they did 24 into 47. The 3/4 mile was a bit slower, but as you can see, that's where Bulldoze was softened up. I don't see anybody in this field softening up Bulldoze like that. I see Bulldoze having a very calm, collective, and easy start. I see him having a very leisurely opening quarter, very easy half mile, and he's going to spray it home just as he did before. Public Sector needs something to run at, and I don't think he's going to get it in this field at least.
Yeah, on Boxing Day, he got something to run at. Ultimately, that final time was quick, but it wasn't as fast as Bulldoze when he won his 7.8. But this is a good problem to have. These are 2 really good horses, 2 of the best we have in Barbados, and 2 of the best we've seen in a long time. So it's going to be interesting. Public Sector is capable of winning this race. I just think right now the Bulldoze that he has to face is going to be tough. And then we both have 7 and 6, Deccan Prince and the Gold Cup winner Portfolio Company. I think Deccan Prince just might be on the outside looking in. He's good, but I don't think he's as good as the top 2. And then Portfolio Company is just the best. The rest are sprinters or just not as good as Portfolio Company has been.
Yeah, I do agree. Warbeat and So Suave have had better success recently sprinting. Caspian Sea, the same, but even in a lower class, not necessarily the 140s. And then Zazie, who really hasn't had any kind of form since she left Barbados. She's a really, really hard task to choose here. I think the obvious choice is just as we have it: 2, 4, 7, and 6.
Yeah, so not much to say on our supporting features. A very interesting race, for our top class horses. But I think it's pretty cut and dry. We both do, and we'll see how race number 5 plays out. And then we're going to move on to the big one. It's race number 6, the 87th running of the Grade 1 Visit Barbados Derby. It's a small field of 9, but again, loaded here with talent. Number 9, Flying Jenny, looking to win a second jewel as well as Ultrasound. But number 9, given what she did in the midsummer, is all the talk of the town.
Yeah, and it's hard to ignore what she just did in the midsummer. She won by 8.5 lengths. Granted, yes, she was ridden hard to the wire, but she was miles above the rest, miles better than the rest. And I think being drawn 9, being drawn widest of all, it's hard for her to get into any trouble like she did in the Guineas. In the Guineas, going across the back, she was pocketed early, and well, they ran laps around her. By the time she got free, Ultrasound was already loose on the lead. But in the midsummer, you can see where Antonio Bishop gave her head, and she was able to relax. She did pick up the bit with about 5 furlongs to go, and I could see her fighting the jockey. And now she's drawn 9. I think is basically a repeat of the midsummer again. To go from 8.5 lengths winning to then losing is going to be more than a surprise to me.
No, I agree. And again, we have the same winner here. We really respect Flying Jenny. And I think this was a reversal of luck with the trips between our Guineas winner Ultrasound and our Midsummer winner Flying Jenny. As you can see, like when Bishop pockets Ultrasound up the backstretch and starts to make up some ground, Ultrasound then loses ground behind Relentless. We're in the Guineas when Ultrasound was trying to make a move. Flying Jenny was the victim of Relentless moving around, and then she lost some lengths to him. And I think this is a race that actually made me respect Ultrasound and his ability, because to be able to come away such a clear second, I thought was very impressive, whereas the race was going forward, he was going backward. But nobody, no doubt about it, he was never beating Flying Jenny. And I think this is a score that he cannot settle, because she, as you said, 8.5 lengths is very hard to overturn, given how good she was before the Guineas and what she did in the midsummer.
Yeah, and that is correct. Ultrasound, who was widest of all coming into the stretch, was able to run down who I have a second for Undeniable, who I think is going to appreciate a bit of a longer trip. I was looking for
So you're thinking the longer trip is what's going to flip the positions?
Yes, as it relates to Undeniable and Ultrasound. But then I do have to look at the new face in the race, which is Bossy Lady. Bossy Lady, as much as she was impressive in her 2 wins, I just can't see her running any higher than 3rd. But I do have it as a 1, 2, 3 for trainer Andrew Nunes, who I think would be the first trainer to get a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd since Victor Cheeseman in the 2018 Derby with Jack Manani Gap, Brave Star, and Gandalf.
Right, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. It would be very impressive, an impressive feat for Andrew Nunes to do this. Bossy Lady is the new face, as you mentioned. She's coming in with 2 impressive wins. I don't think she's in the stratosphere of Flying Jenny. I also, as I said, I respect Undeniable Ultrasound a lot coming out of that race, so I don't want to split them. And it's hard to just go back with the Midsummer Trifecta. It probably will not run like that. But I think Undeniable is the next best horse. I liked him a little bit in the Guineas, and obviously stepping up and trip in the midsummer, he ran really well and he got conditions that were suited to him. I think the 10 furlongs is even more what he wants, so I don't want to bring the new face Bossy Lady in over these 3, and I respect her, so I'll put her on my 4th line for the Derby. But again, just like the race prior, we have these 4 that we think it is these 4, and we don't deviate. I just want to give a little bit of love to Ariel, who won the first 2-year-old jump out last year and has just been hard knocking since then. And she placed in the Guineas and she was 4th in the midsummer. So I think this is a horse that deserves some love. She will stretch out, but I just think she might not hit here with these 4. But we'll see a very competitive Derby after Flying Jenny. And then we go on to race number 7. It's the high 5 race on the card. It's the Run Barbados handicap. It goes 1,570 meters. This is probably the first race where we're going completely different. You're going to take Legendary, who won last time out.
Yeah, I take Legendary, who all of a sudden he remembered who he was and won, I think, 43-1. All of a sudden he remembers how good he is. Looking through this field, there are a lot of faces and a lot of names that I could call, but I don't think deserve a name call in a race like this. Now, it's not a very deep field, in my opinion. I think there are a few names that stand out, namely Fasa Cash, Octavia Sienna, legendary. The Derby runner-up Mandarin Oriental is also in here, but he just isn't ringing a bell anymore. I'm not sure what happened there, but I see absolutely nothing stopping Legendary from getting almost an identical trip of what he got last time. A respectable weight of 120 pounds. It's not too heavy. It's also not a featherweight by any stretch of the imagination. But look at the field that he defeated, namely such as Magnific and Let It Be Me. Heidi Marie is also in there, and these are all better horses than what he's facing today. Sorry, I said today, but what he's facing Saturday. This is now a non-winners of 3, and this horse has faced far better quality than this.
Yeah, a non-winners of 3 condition. Most importantly, this is one of the only 2-time winners. So this is her class. I disagree. I don't see the same trip. I thought she was the beneficiary of a really excellent judgment of pace by Daniel. And I don't think with the presence of Barnabas with the blinkers coming off and maybe even Faster Cash and Venom, I don't know if Legendary gets loose here so I respect Legendary, but I thought she was the beneficiary of a really, really good setup last time out. I like Mandarin Oriental coming out of that spot, been chasing Mandarin Oriental for a very long time. But the horse that I ultimately did end up on was number 11, Venom, with Kadeem Mohammed on board. I thought the claim immediately jumped out at me. 111 pounds will be a steal for this horse because this horse is a good 3-year-old. And if you look back at his last start where he stretched out for the first time and was beaten by Bossy Lady, who ends up in the Derby, Bossy Lady passed him, but Venom never stopped running. This horse ran all the way through the line. And for a horse who was so speed heavy early in his career, you probably think that's all he can do. But I think this showed that this is a horse that can get the mile really well, especially given his pedigree. So at 111 pounds, if Muhammad can get him on the lead and he can be comfortable, I think this effort makes him really, really competitive in a field that is very, very deep. So we go completely different directions. I'm going to take Venom for the reason you're taking Legendary. I just think that Venom will get a good trip on the lead.
And I guess Venom did prove that, this horse does have some heart. As you said, Bossy Lady passed him in the blink of an eye, but never got away from him. But
yeah, never did.
I don't know. It's not residing with me as strongly as it is with you. I have him on my 5th line. On my 2nd line, I went with horse number 6, Octavia Sienna, beg your pardon, who would have been thrown out in a race, maybe 1 or 2 starts back, but she still deserves a chance here. Horse number 7, I have a 3rd, Faster Cash into Sunbeam, and to close out my high 5, I went with your winner, Venom.
Yeah, I am going to take number 12, Mandarin Oriental. I just think this horse continues to run huge races with top weight, and I like him at 1,800 meters. He cuts back here to the mile, so hopefully he'll get some pace to run into with Lawson. The 127 doesn't bother me for him because he's shown that he can handle it before and run really good races with a lot higher competition, like Magnificent Heidi Marie binary code. If him and Kite, who I have 3rd, can't perform in these non-winners of 3, then I don't know what we're doing here, because I think these 2 specifically have been running in much tougher races. So I feel like this is a dropping class with these conditions. Then I'll take number 10, Legendary. We kind of talked about her earlier. And then I'll take number 6 as well, Octavia Sienna. I implore you to go watch her last start where she lost to Tinkerbell. We showed it earlier when we showed Show Me the Milk. I have no idea what the jockey was doing in the stretch. I, as a punter, was fuming. I feel like I could have gotten on and done a lot better because I have no idea. It looked like he was about to fall off, then he saved it, and it looked like he was about to fall off on the other side. I thought that horse could have been on the board, so this 5th place as a punter has me very
that should be a toss.
Yeah, it has me very indignant. So we'll see what Octavia Sienna can do here with Beckles getting on board. It's a notable jockey change in my opinion, and I think getting one of the best in the jock house. I have her on my 5th line because I really like some of the others, but I'm talking about her so vehemently because her last start, I thought she could have been a lot better, but she's going to finish on my 5th line. So 11, 12, 9, 10, and 6.
And I see nothing wrong with what you said. I will look back at what you would have mentioned with Octavia Sienna, but just to touch on Mandarin Oriental, I've played this horse time and time and time again, and I've watched this horse go from butting about in 70 and lowers to 60 and lowers, or even 65 and lowers, dropping to 55 and lowers, and now we're basically back in another 55 and lower. This is simply just a non-winners of 3. So yes, it does narrow down who can go in the race, but 127 pounds plus how you've been running recently and being defeated by the same legendary, magnific, Heidi Marie, etc. I think the highlight of this horse's career was the second place in the Derby, but I've seen nothing.
It would be hard to get back to such a place of glory, because what races are there even for horses like him? But yes, that second of the Derby definitely will be a big thing for him. But I like him in this spot. We'll see how that one shapes up, because it's a deep race in race number 7. And then we move on to the curtain closer. It's race number 8, the last lap handicap, 1100 meters for the 30s and lower. I thought that I didn't want to just default to early riser, but this race, obviously, that's the one you have to talk about first. It goes through him with Ricky Walker.
Yeah, I wasn't even trying to look anywhere else. I really gave no effort in looking for anyone else. I think early riser was the standout. He was the thorn sticking out. And I think the race does run through him. Fool Me Not, who is also another speedster. 133 pounds is a lot of weight. Although you do have the apprentice claim at 5 pounds.
128 is still a lot.
Yeah, it still doesn't do very much. And watching early riser run second to Gabby's Girl in the video above, let's remove Gabby's Girl from this video. Who's the winner?
Yes, sir.
I think it runs exactly like that. I don't think any of these are any better than early riser, who is usually missing for some part, for some reason or the next. I guess that maybe by design, but he leaves, comes back with a bang, leaves again. And I think it's going to continue here.
Yeah, this is a horse that's a little bit more consistent than everybody else in this race. I'm going to go again. Yeah, but I'm going to go against early riser. I just feel like sometimes with these small fields, we kind of just pick the name and don't do our due diligence with it. And I'm a victim of that. I do that very often, which is why I try to maybe get clever here to my own demise, because early riser could perhaps easily win this race. I'm going to take number 6, Action Pack. And this is a maiden who has absolutely no form coming in here. But if you look back to 3 starts ago for him, this one showed a lot of speed, very quick with Ricky Walker. And I want to know, this horse took 130 pounds in this race. Behind him was Social Distance, who also took 120, so got 10 pounds from Action Pack, and Early Riser, who took 119 and got 11 pounds from Action Pack. Both of them were unable to beat Action Pack. This was Early Riser's last start. So I think coming back here, the blinkers go on Action Pack. Beckles also goes on. So I think cutting back to 1,100 meters with conditions that should be more favorable. The 127, I don't think bothers me here, because, again, this race was 130 pounds and was able to beat Early Riser. I think the weight's more of a red flag for Fool Me Not. So if Beckles can break here with some intention and take it to Fool Me Not and Vitarossa early, maybe Action Pack gets loose and brave and can cause the upset. It would be a huge upset for such a small field. But I'm going to try to get clever here with Action Pack. Early Riser, you have to respect, falls on my second lane. Then I'll take number 5, Vitarossa, who's cutting back from a route win last time on my third line. So 6, 2, and 5 to end the card.
And 2, 3, and 6 to end my card. Is really not much to say. I would love to go into more depth on it. I think you did a pretty good job of such, but I ended up with Fool Me Not.
Sometimes you just got to chalk it out. You just got to go with the names.
There's not a lot of depth in the race. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's the race number 8. It's a small field for the last lap. But again, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Pillar to Post. As always, we would love if you follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Good luck, and may all your tickets be winning ones.
Thank you for watching, guys. Good luck, and until next time.